I'm Jory, and I am a trans man, which for the uninitiated means that I initially thought that I was a girl. I was assigned female at birth, but then I later realized that I am a guy. This is a video that's kind of a guide for cis people, or maybe just transgender people who don't understand what other transgender people do, because transgender people do a lot of weird shit. And I just wanted to explain that, because you might not feel comfortable asking your transgender friends about it, and let's be honest, a lot of them probably wouldn't enjoy being asked these questions, so this is kind of a place where you can go to understand. First of all, let me explain. I am only talking about things that I know from my own experience. It does not by any means mean that it applies to all transgender people. My experience is I am a trans man who did not realize that he was trans until later in life. I think I was about 14. I am 20 now. It might be very different for people who realize that they were trans earlier in life, or for people who are trans women, or just any other gender somewhere in between or outside of that. You know, just other trans men who've had different experiences. But here's what I have found. One weird thing that trans people do is wear clothes that are not of their gender identity. Some trans guys wear dresses. I wear dresses sometimes. I look fucking rad in dresses. I look amazing in dresses. I believe, personally, that clothes have no gender. But let's pretend for a moment that they do. If you realize that you were trans later in life, usually most of your wardrobe is going to be clothes from the other gender that you thought you used to be but now realize that you aren't. When I first realized that I was a trans guy, I owned like 50 dresses. I mean, I own less now. I used to have very limited options for things that I could wear. Back, you know, before I had my own income, before I could buy my own clothes. And let's be real, dresses are fucking awesome. You don't have to match anything but shoes with them, that's it. And they're comfortable as fuck, it's like wearing a nightgown outside. It's great. So the fact is that people can wear clothes that are not of their own gender because of resources, personal preference, the fact that clothes literally have no gender, who knows? Wearing multiple layers in the summer. This is another thing that a lot of trans guys do in my experience. For instance, the fan is going in my room right now. You can probably hear it because it's hot as balls in here. But yet, I am wearing a flannel and a t-shirt, and this is because trans guys, when they wear binders, their chests look really fucking weird, okay? It looks like they're wearing a sports bra or something. And from the side, you can see the boobs, okay? Look at that. See? But if you wear layers like a jean vest or flannel shirt, a hoodie, something, it kind of masks it a little bit. You know, the edges look a little less weird, because you can see here, that looks kind of strange. But this looks much more normal. Also, I have found that my binders, personally, my chest binders are things that keep my boobs in, because I have huge boobs. I'm like double D, it's crazy. But I find that my binders actually act as insulators sometimes, so I don't always feel as hot as everyone else does on a summer day. It's quite nice. Another thing they do is wear makeup. I am not wearing makeup personally right now, except for my eyebrows. I will explain that in a later video, why most of my eyebrows are actually penciled in and I don't have the rest of my eyebrows. Some trans guys wear makeup because our faces, you can see I've got a baby face right now, and I'm 20, so this face looks kind of normal on a girl, but on a guy, I don't have that square jaw. I don't have those chiseled cheekbones. Sometimes you can wear makeup to contour your face to look more masculine. I'll probably do a tutorial video later because I used to do it a lot. Now I don't because I've gotten lazy. But that's it. Another thing that trans people do is not talk in a high or deep voice. High being if you're a trans woman, you don't talk in a high voice. If you're a trans guy, you don't talk in a deep voice. This is not the deepest voice that I can talk in. I can go a little bit lower sometimes. If I really, really practice, I can get a Captain America voice going. The main reason why people sometimes do not talk in a very high or very deep voice is because it's fucking hard. Oh my god, try going a whole day trying to talk like the gender that you are opposite, okay? It's very, very difficult. Sometimes I have to pick and choose when I can talk in a deep voice or not, because I lose my voice if I talk like this for too long. It's really awful. So what I do usually is at work, I will talk in like the voice that comes out normally, which sounds very high and very feminine. And then when I'm hanging out with friends or when I'm at home, you know, just hanging out, I'll talk in this voice because, you know, the family, that's really what I care about. My family and my friends, I like talking as a guy to them. People I meet at work, I'm gonna know them for like 5 seconds, that's it. Another weird thing that trans people do is not watch LGBTQIA movies. I don't know if this is just me, honestly. I haven't actually talked to very many trans people about this because it's kind of a touchy subject. I haven't seen The Danish Girl, or Carol, or About Ray. I haven't seen a lot of those movies. I think that it's great, first of all, that those movies even exist. I think it's great that more people are being represented in movies. I don't watch a lot of LGBT movies, or any LGBT movies really, because I deal with that shit a lot in my own life. Like, I don't really need to see this guy going through all these struggles being trans, because yeah, I fucking know that. That is my life, and it sucks sometimes, and so I don't really want to see that on screen. Like, you know, when you go to a movie, you can see the kinds of movies that I enjoy. I have 2 BB-8s. I like nerd shit, alright? And I like seeing that kind of fun, adventure, escapist stuff in movies. When I go to movies, I don't want to see people with dysphoria, because I'm like, ha, yeah, that's every damn day. Once they start making movies with gay people, trans people, bi people, pan people, in just like normal situations, like in Star Trek, the movie that I saw last night, where they, spoiler alert, they make Sulu gay, but it's just like a throwaway thing, and Sulu is still his normal badass adventure-going self. That's awesome. I need more movies like that, preferably with the main characters being LGBT, but you know, we'll get there. Another weird thing that trans people do, misgender themselves on accident. This used to be a lot bigger of a problem for me, but it isn't really much anymore. Most often, I misgender myself when I refer to myself as a group with my 3 sisters. Because, you know, up until I was like 14, it was an unquestioned fact that it was like the girls, the sisters. But now, not so much anymore. It's 3 sisters and a brother, which does not sound as cool. And when we misgender ourselves, it does not mean that we are doubting our own identity. I want to stress that. We are not doubting our own identity in any way. What we are doing is just making a mistake. And we understand that other people who are trying to get used to calling us by our new pronouns are going to make mistakes too, and that's okay, as long as you're trying, just like we are. So whenever we misgender ourselves, it's purely accident. We usually correct ourselves. We usually go like, silly me. This is a big one. Some transgender people do not go through hormone therapy or surgery. Now, hormone therapy is when a trans man will take testosterone or a trans woman will take estrogen. There are a lot of risks with these procedures, first of all. They're not very advanced yet. Medical science is going a long way, and it has gone a long way in the past few years. Hormone therapy is obviously a lot less risky than getting surgery, but there are still risks. And some people just don't want to see that kind of change in their bodies. Some people are comfortable being a trans man and not changing how they look, except for, you know, little things like binders. But some people might not even do that. It's all a matter of personal preference and personal comfort. And you should never, ever pressure a trans person to get hormone therapy or surgery. Alright? If we do get it, we will get it on our own time. We will decide when we get it, when to seek help getting it. Most trans men don't actually get lower surgery, because there are 2 kinds of surgeries that trans men can get. And that is the top surgery, which is the removal of the breasts and sometimes the structural stuff to make it look like pecs. Some people don't get that. Some people just remove the breasts and have a very flat chest, whereas some guys will get like pec construction. That's a little more expensive. So that's another reason why some people won't do it, is because of money. Insurance, this is a whole other thing. Insurance needs to cover this stuff, but they usually don't. We'll get into that later. And then for trans women, obviously there are breast implants and then the lower surgery. Most trans women will go through both surgeries. That doesn't mean all of them will, and that's perfectly fine. Most trans women will go through the top surgery, just like most trans men will go through the top surgery, but not the lower surgery. If you do go through the lower surgery as a trans guy, then there is actually the risk that you will lose all functionality down there, which is not something that most of us want to mess with. I personally plan to get hormone therapy, so I will be taking testosterone, and I will get top surgery. And if medical science advances enough in my lifetime, I might consider lower surgery, but right now I'm just like, nope. Another thing that we do, or rather don't do, we don't usually like to talk about being trans, especially to people who we've just met. Like with our families, sometimes we'll be okay with that if our families are open and they want to discuss it. But usually we don't really want to discuss it. Sometimes once you come out to one of your friends, then like being trans becomes a conversation topic. And sometimes we just don't want to talk about that. We don't really want to hear like stories of other trans people, or at least I don't. It kind of depresses me. I'll get to that more later. Sometimes we just don't like to talk about being trans, because it's just us. We just want to kind of be us and have that be accepted and talk about nerdy shit or whatever you're into. Another weird thing that trans people do is be gay. I myself identify as a gay man. Some people, they find that kind of hard to comprehend, which is weird. But the way that some people put it to me is, why be a trans gay guy when you can just be a straight woman? And the fact of the matter is that sexual orientation and gender identity have a lot less to do with each other than some people think. My gender identity, I hold it completely separate from my sexual orientation. I have always known that I've liked guys, even when I thought I was a girl. I figured out my gender identity way later, and I didn't connect it with my sexual orientation until people started asking me. And trans women, they can be lesbians. That's just a thing. Our sexualities have nothing to do with our gender identities, most of the time. As far as I've never encountered anyone who's. And another thing, sometimes we might change our mind about what we identify as. And this is okay. Okay, this is a tough thing to figure out, especially in our society where we don't really teach this kind of stuff in school. We're not really introduced to the idea of it very early. If you are, that's awesome and you are lucky. You know, most parents aren't giving their kids the talk of how to tell if you identify with the gender that you were assigned at birth. It's just not a thing that happens. So most of the time, we don't really know what to look for. Most of the cases that I found where people have changed their idea of their gender identity, where they have at first misinterpreted the feelings within themselves but then later figured it out, is usually when their gender does not fall within the gender binary, which means girls and boys, because there are a lot more genders than that. That's a very complicated topic that I can get into in a later video if you want. I fall within the binary, so I feel like I'm not the most qualified person to talk about it. But I will, if you guys want me to. But most often, if a person does not fall within the gender binary, this is the most common case where they'll figure out that they're not the gender that they initially thought that they were when they first figured out that they were trans. Say that someone initially thinks that they are a trans woman, so they ask people to call her she, her, hers. Alright? Let's just start with that. But then as they keep going, they later figure out that they don't really feel like a girl either, even if they don't really feel like a guy either. So they might identify as non-binary and start going by they, them, theirs. And those are not the only pronouns. There's lots of other pronouns. People make up their own pronouns, which that's just awesome. It's this whole culture. It's great. So if a person changes their minds on the pronouns that they want you to call them, please, please, please respect that, even if they change their minds later. Because this shit's fucking hard. Figuring all this out, oh my god, it is hard. And another thing, trans people, when they pick their new name, like their guy name versus their girl name, they pick a name that does not at all sound like their legal name. This was something that confused me for a long time. My legal name is McKenna, and like I said earlier, my name now is Jory. Sounds nothing alike, right? McKenna. I could have gone by Mac, or Ken, or what are other guy names? But I didn't, because I don't really like the names Mac or Ken that much. Like McKenna, that's an interesting name. That's a kind of unique name. And Jory is even more so. I like interesting, unique names. So it's really just, you might not like any of the guy or girl names that sound like your legal name. That's really it. And some people have really bad experiences with their old name, so they might want to get away from that as far as they can. That wasn't the case for me, but that is sometimes what happens. An example would be Caitlyn Jenner. Caitlyn sounds nothing like Bruce. But, I mean, what would a feminine version of Bruce be? Brienne? I don't know. For you nerds out there, here's another weird thing that trans people do. Sometimes we will cosplay as people who are of our assigned gender. So, for example, I cosplayed as Rey from Star Wars for this past, December Force Awakens premiere. Even though that was long after I figured out that I was a trans guy and I started presenting as a guy, because Rey's fucking awesome, okay? Rey is amazing. I love Rey so much. I wanted to look like her as much as I possibly could. I wanted to embody that character. And I am comfortable having my boobs out. Some people aren't. That's okay. So yeah, if a trans person likes a character very much who is not their identified gender, they will cosplay them sometimes. And it's great because they already have the resources most of the time. Yay! This is a big one for me. It's not a bad thing, but I hate shopping for clothes. Oh my god, I hate shopping for clothes. Most of my wardrobe is made up of different colored flannels and different t-shirts and different jeans. I'm not even going to show you these jeans because I hate them very, very much. Shopping for pants when you're a trans guy is the most frustrating thing because you need pants that are wide enough to fit like girl hips, but that are not huge and baggy around your legs. Alright, fine, I'll show you my legs. Look how wide my hips are. And this is with a hip binder on. This is crazy. Also, look how pale my shins are. Oh my god, I'm like a highlighter. Finding clothes that fit your body type that are of the gender you identify with is sometimes really, really hard. And the fact is that if you're skinnier, it's usually easier. I am not skinny. I am bulky. I am fat and muscle. And I like that. But it's hard to shop for clothes. Clothes are very difficult. Clothes don't like me generally. And another thing, I'm gonna touch up on something that I mentioned earlier, which is how I don't personally like to hear about other trans people's transitionings. The easiest way that I can explain it to someone who isn't trans is imagine that you love video games and you've just gotten a new video game and your friend has been playing this video game for a while now. Or maybe they've been playing it just as long as you have and they're at a higher level than you and they're already like getting all this cool stuff, all the rewards and stuff, and you're really excited to get to that level. You really want to get to that level. And just hearing your friend talk about all the cool stuff that's happening to them in the game, and it's like, yeah, but I'm super jealous of you. So can you shush and let me play my own game at my own pace? You get jealous. And it's a little depressing. On one hand, it can be helpful because your friend can tell you all the trouble that you should expect and you can watch out for certain things and be warned. On the other hand, it's like, please stop. Please stop. I just want to do this on my own. I just want to experience it for myself. And probably the last thing we're going to talk about. Trans people will act more feminine or masculine or whatever around certain people. And this is kind of a compliment, actually. If I act more feminine around a person, it means that I'm more comfortable around them. And by more feminine, I mean that I'm not trying to use a super deep voice. Maybe I'm wearing a bra and a comfy t-shirt because binders are fucking uncomfortable. Oh my god, it's like wearing elastic bands from here to down below where you can see, like around my thighs, alright? Because I wear hip binders too because I've got big round hips. I love them, but I hate them, you know? If I'm comfortable enough around you to wear a bra in my pajamas and talk in a voice that doesn't make me lose my voice eventually, it's a compliment. It means that I'm comfortable enough around you to let my guard down a little bit. It's kind of like, you know, if you're a girl and you like to wear makeup, when you don't wear makeup around your friends or family because you feel comfortable enough with them, you know that they won't judge you. It means that a trans person is more confident that they know, that you know, that they are one gender even if they're not necessarily acting within those stereotypes, I guess. That's all the things that I can think of that are weird things that trans people do that cis people or other trans people might not understand. And like I said, this is only really my experience as a trans guy who realized he was trans later in life. I just want to leave you with this. If you are a cis person and you're trying to imagine what it would be like to be trans, say that you are assigned a woman at birth and you identify with that because you're cis. Let's say that when you're trying to imagine what it's like to be trans, you're thinking, what if I, a woman, wanted to be a guy? That isn't really how it works. Imagine more like, what if I, a woman, looked so much like a man that I sometimes had to pretend to be one? Yeah, that's what it's like. So, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see me talk about anything else, if you have any more questions, please leave them in the comments. I will put them in a video. And if you want to hear the story about the eyebrows and the fact that I have black hair when my hair is actually brown and I hate having black hair, subscribe. Just in case you thought I was exaggerating about the looking good in a dress thing.